Well, Rami Khouri is a distinguished public policy fellow at the American University of Beirut and joins us live now from Boston. Rami, thank you very much for your time. First of all, where do these latest developments, where does this all leave the already fragile ceasefire and the talks?
Well, it creates a bit of a problem in the sense that the ceasefire might collapse completely and the Israelis might resume their attacks against the civilians in Gaza, but that's not clear. This is probably a political move by Hamas aimed to perpetuate the implementation of the ceasefire, to get the Israelis to do what they're supposed to do, what they agreed to do, stop killing Palestinians. They've killed around 25 Palestinians since the ceasefire started, allow all the humanitarian aid that was promised, and allow people to move around Gaza as they're supposed to. So I don't think this is going to collapse the ceasefire, but it really depends on the Israelis. They're the ones who are the ones who want to keep fighting. And they're the Netanyahu, the prime minister of Israel, is concerned that the complete implementation of the ceasefire would mean the end of his political career, because Hamas would remain and be involved in running Gaza eventually, and he would not have really achieved his main goals. So it's a delicate moment, but the outcome is not clear yet.
Rami, Israel's warned that the army has boots on the ground, prepared and ready to defend. Just how concerning is all this at the moment?
Well, I mean, this is propaganda. What are they defending? They've killed, 50, 70, 80,000, 100,000 people and destroyed all of Gaza. They're the ones who are doing the killing more than the Palestinians. They're the ones who are on the attack with the full support of the United States and guns and bombs and funds and diplomatic support. So I wouldn't pay any attention to this kind of Israeli propaganda. It's designed to appeal to ignorant American politicians more than anything else. And it has succeeded so far. But the Israelis have reached the point where they're really in some trouble. They're very divided at home. They are under international criminal investigation. There are arrest warrants for their prime minister and former defense minister. Israeli soldiers and diplomats are afraid to travel to many countries now. Public opinion is against them. There's just a lot of negative things that Israel is suffering because of the excesses of its own military barbarism in Gaza. And more fighting is not going to achieve anything for Israel or the United States. And for the U.S. in particular, Trump wants the fighting to end. He wants the place to be quiet. In fact, his outrageous proposal to take Gaza and run it as a real estate development, it's criminal and it's comic at the same time, and it's colonial. So the U.S. doesn't want the war to continue, but Netanyahu does. This is the big question that has to be answered soon. Will the world sit down and let this happen?
On Donald Trump, Rami, his latest comments are that Palestinians forced out would not have the right to return. What do you make of those latest comments? What's your opinion on that?
Well, Donald Trump doesn't have the right to say anything related to this issue. He's not in charge of Gaza. He has no legal or political or moral authority. He acts in ways that are criminal and comic and colonial at the same time, that he wants to take this territory over, get the Palestinians out. He thinks this is something that'll help the Israelis, it might help his own bottom line, family finances. It's hard to know what his motivation is, but it's not to be taken seriously. Most of the world has ridiculed him, but this is what he does, and he is the American president. So this is a signal that the colonial spirit in which Great Britain for half a century and now the United States for half a century has tried to manage the Middle East, particularly the Palestinian situation, to the benefit of Israel, that they're going to try to continue this. But there's massive opposition to this, and I don't think it's going to happen. It's clearly a negotiating, bargaining chip, probably to bargain with the Saudis to try to implement the Abraham Accords further. We don't really know exactly what the motivation is, but again, we'll have to find out. But in the meantime, everybody is opposing him. The Palestinians are not going anywhere, and he just has to do his entertainment somewhere else.
Rami, thank you very much for your thoughts. Rami Khouri speaking to us there from Boston.